always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Entertainment Podcast, brought to you by the vitamin subscription service Care of, where for a limited time you can get 30% off of your first order. Just go to takecareof.com and enter the promo code entertainment30 and you'll get 30% off of your first order. So welcome to the Entertainment Podcast. I hope you're having a great day. There's a bunch of stuff going on in the world, of course, and in the world of entertainment. We are going to talk about some of that bunch of stuff going on, because obviously we can't cover it all. So we are going to start with talking about the developments in a couple of TV shows in our first segment. Second segment, we'll move on to some celebrity news, find out what some various celebrities have been up to. And then in the third segment, we'll be talking about some movie news. So it's all in that entertainment realm. Let's go ahead and get started. As I said, we're going to start by talking about some television news. And as you can see from the title of this episode, All in the Family and the Jeffersons, shows that both ran starting in the 70s. You've maybe seen them, you've maybe not. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't. But regardless, there is going to be a live showing of episodes of All in the Family and the Jeffersons tonight, which let me back that up. So they will be filmed in front of a live studio audience tonight on ABC at 8:00. In case you need a refresher on these two iconic shows, they were both developed by Norman Lear, who is producing this new live version. Norman Lear is 96 years old. That is incredible, and he's still making television. So he is an American television writer and producer. He produced not only All in the Family and the Jeffersons, but also Sanford and Sons, One Day at a Time, which also has a reboot you may have seen. Good Times, and so as I said, both of these shows, All in the Family and the Jeffersons, originally premiered and were on air in the 70s. All in the Family was on air from January 1971 to April 1979, so about 8 years. And then it continued with a spin-off series, Archie Bunker's Place. Then the Jeffersons was on even longer. It was on CBS from January 1975 to July 1985. It had 11 seasons. It is one of the longest running sitcoms. And it is the second longest running American series with a primarily African American cast. So it was definitely groundbreaking in that way. I am a little bit fascinated by the fact that these are the two shows that they have chosen to reboot. I mean, they're rebooting everything right now, right? Every time you turn around, there's a new reboot. In fact, I just mentioned One Day at a Time has been rebooted and is available to watch, I think, stream on Netflix. So there was, this desire to reboot these shows. It is being fronted by Jimmy Kimmel, who is a huge fan of Norman Lear. And it says that, so what I read is that they're going to do 2 episodes of these shows, and they are going to be, the scripts are the same. They're going to be using the same words as in the original episodes. So that is fascinating because, of course, that was, 40-something years ago. And Lear says that regardless, they are just as timely now as they were then. In an interview with Deadline, Lear said, "I'll tell you seriously, the most amazing thing is listening to these 2 shows where we agreed word for word we would not change a word. And nothing has been changed, and I can't believe how relevant it is to this moment." He says every effing word is relevant to this moment. Also, he says, all by itself, there's nobody else doing it. And that's a shock, and it means it's going to seem brand new to millions of people. It is going to seem brand new to millions of people because I am, oldish, and I vaguely remember these shows, but I'm not quite old enough to remember watching them on a regular basis. What I'm intrigued to know, or what I'm intrigued to see, is the casts of these shows are amazing. So, as I said, it's airing tonight at 8 o'clock on ABC, and the cast includes, Woody Harrelson is playing Archie Bunker, and Marissa Tomei is playing Edith Bunker, his wife. In terms of the Jeffersons, Jamie Foxx is going to be on the Jeffersons. Wanda Sykes is on the Jeffersons. The casts are just amazing. Who else is in this show? Let's see. Kerry Washington, Will Ferrell, Ellie Kemper, Anthony Anderson, Stephen Tobolowsky, Jovan Adepo, Ike Barnaholtz, Sean Hayes, and Amber Stevens West. And then there are some surprises and guest stars who are promised as well. So, as I said, it's this reboot, but it's being filmed in front of a live studio audience. It is word for word, and it's just really interesting to me because, I don't know, these are truly iconic shows. All in the Family was one of the most racist shows out there, so I'm a little scared to see how if the words are all the same. They are saying that it is still timely, but it will be interesting to see people's reactions about this, what they think, if it really does still stand up in this day and age, since both shows are 40 plus years old. I'm intrigued. I will definitely be, if not watching tonight, DVRing it so that I can watch it when I have some time, and maybe we'll talk about it on the next episode. I'm intrigued to hear what other people are thinking. I'm sure it'll be all over social media, but if you have thoughts, I would love to hear those thoughts. Are you of an age where you watched those shows? Maybe you watched them some other way. If you're younger, how do you feel about them? How do you feel about them being brought back? And how do you feel about the cast? I mean, the cast is pretty amazing. I can't complain about the cast, that's for sure. They did get some big names to play these iconic roles. So we'll see how that goes. Now, switching to a completely different topic, still on television, but very different from the Jeffersons or All in the Family, and that is Sesame Street. Now, I didn't grow up, I did grow up maybe watching, I remember watching the Jeffersons, sort of, but I was pretty young, so I only vaguely remember it, but I definitely remember growing up watching Sesame Street. Loved Sesame Street, and I still do. If I am flipping through channels and Sesame Street is on, I'll watch it. And it is interesting. Sesame Street throughout the years has introduced numerous new characters. It's been on air for a long time, and it's always been cutting edge in terms of trying to facilitate childhood development and learning, as well as inclusivity and exposing children to various things in the world. So they have now introduced a new Muppet character who is in foster care. This is part of the Sesame Street in Communities program. The character, whose name is Carly, is I would call her, well, she's green, but it's like the color of the Grinch. It's that color green, kind of neon green, and she's got poofy yellow, kind of, they almost look feathery pigtails on the top of her head. As I said, her name is Carly, and she lives with Clem and Dahlia, her four now parents. So in the video that I watched, Carly is talking to Elmo about her family and how her heart continues to grow despite her circumstances. That in the first heart, it's her and her mom, and due to difficult circumstances, she doesn't go into it. Her mom can't take care of her right now. So she is living with Clem and Dahlia, who are her for now parents. And so her heart grows because they love her as well. And she goes into this whole story about how her for now parents love her. It is also, the initiative is also promoting a series of YouTube videos addressing questions and concerns about foster care, because there are a lot of both questions and concerns out there about foster care. One spokesperson says fostering a child takes patience, resilience, and sacrifice, and we know that caring adults hold the power to buffer the effects of traumatic experiences on young children. That is from Jeanette Betancourt, Senior Vice President of U.S. Social Impact at Sesame Workshop. She said, we want foster parents and providers to hear that what they do matters. They have the enormous job of building and rebuilding family structures and children's sense of safety. So Sesame Street, as I said, has introduced a lot of different characters. They've tried to acquaint children with real world issues. They've had a character with autism. They've had a character who is food insecure. Just a lot of different characters to expose children to lots of different situations that happen in the everyday world, but in that safe environment where it's Sesame Street. It's the characters you love. It's Muppets. It's something that you trust. So it exposes children to these different types of situations in a situation that they feel safe in and trust, which I think is wonderful. And I'm excited to hear more about Carly. I actually learned about this yesterday when a couple of friends of mine posted about it on social media. One friend's a social worker and the other friend is actually a foster mom. So people are excited about it, at least in my circle, and I'm excited about it as well. So we are going to take our first break of the podcast. When we come back, we'll be talking about some celebrity news, things that are happening in the world surrounding celebrities. Before we do take that break, though, I want to talk to you about Care Of. It is a subscription service, as I said at the beginning, that makes it easy to get vitamins, protein powders, and more. And it's personalized just for you, and it's delivered right to your door. I don't know if you're anything like me. You can stand in the vitamin aisle, the supplements aisle, and just stare at the overwhelming number of products that you can buy. I know that I want to take vitamins. I try to eat as healthy as possible, but vitamins are a good way to supplement eating healthy. The thing I love about Care Of is that they have an online quiz. It lets you know exactly what you need. It's short. It only takes, 5 or 10 minutes. And asks you questions about your diet, your health goals, your lifestyle choices, and then it gives you a personalized recommendation for what you can take. So really, things are complicated enough. Taking care of your health should be easy and convenient. And as I said, it can be hard to know what vitamins and supplements you should be taking, but Care Of really does make it easy to find out what you specifically need to be your healthiest. And then after you take the quiz, they send you this personalized box. Everything says your name. The protein powder says Sarah's protein powder. All of my my daily packets of vitamins have my name on it. It's very cool. You can get protein powders available in individual packets or the larger tubs. Everything is personalized to what you specified in the online quiz. And there are different options for everyone. So it's wonderful. As I said at the beginning, you can get for a limited time 30% off of your first Care Of order simply by going to takecareof.com and enter the promo code of entertainment30. That's just entertainment, like the name of the podcast, Entertainment Podcast, and the number 30. So go to takecareof.com and enter entertainment30 to get your 30% off of your first order. I think you're going to find the experience is quick, easy, and kind of fun. So go and check it out. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Entertainment Podcast. Before the break, we were talking about some of the things that are happening on television. And now I want to turn our attention to some celebrity news. Just, little stories of things that are going on with maybe some of our favorite celebrities or some notorious celebrities, however you might want to look at that. Our first story involves Cher, who is... I don't care how old you are. Cher's a diva. And she's releasing a new perfume, a new fragrance. This is not the first time that she has done this. She released a fragrance, many years ago. Let's see. In 1987, she released a fragrance, but she hasn't released one since. That fragrance was called Uninhibited. She says of this new fragrance, which is called Cher Eau de Couture. She said in a tweet on Monday, May 20th, "I've been working on my perfume for 4 years." She admitted that her one criteria was that she would share it when she loved it enough. And she says, "I wear it every day." So she loves it now enough that she wants to release it. The scent includes notes of bergamot, neroli, jasmine, vetiver, and vanilla. The last aroma was chosen because it is one of the Grammy Award-winning artist's favorites. I like vanilla. It's very touchy-feely. It makes you want to hold yourself. So she describes it as a labor of love. She says she's especially happy to announce it the day after my birthday. This, too, is a milestone in my career as an artist. Now, the other interesting thing about this scent is that she wants it to be genderless. So, you've got perfume for women, you've got cologne for men. There's different smells that people associate with different genders, but we also know that the binary gender concept just really doesn't work that well anymore. So I love that she's created a scent that will appeal to people regardless. And that really should be the way it is, right? You shouldn't smell something and say, "Oh, that smells like a woman. Oh, that smells like a man." I like that it's genderless. So, and I don't know, the fact that she says vanilla makes you want to hug yourself, that's very Cher. It makes me smile. So thanks, Cher. We appreciate your efforts on behalf of the fragrance world. Our next story is about Kristen Bell. I don't know Kristen Bell. Obviously, I've never met Kristen Bell. I only know her from what I see on television and those types of things. But she really looks like somebody that I would just want to hang out with and have a beer with if I drank beer, which I don't, but that's okay. Hang out and have a drink with. She just seems really funny, down to earth, someone that I'd want to hang out with. And she does a show on Ellen. And Ellen, it's the latest episode of her Ellen series, which is Momsplaining with Kristen Bell. And this time she learned some slang. She learned slang. She made slime, and she talked about baby shark, which if you are a mom, a dad, a caregiver, baby shark is everywhere. It gets stuck in your head. It drives people a little bit crazy, but the clip is adorable. The little girl that she is singing and dancing to baby shark with is adorable. Kristen Bell has 2 children with her husband, Dax Shepard. So, but the part I want to talk about is the part that she learns about slang, and she says, "This is going to make me cooler, right?" And the little boy says, "Well, yeah." And so he starts out by telling her about the word dogs, which, he refers to his friends as dogs. And she says, "Well, what do you refer to your dogs as?" And he's like, "Well, I refer to them as dogs, but also my dogs or my friends as," and then he starts talking about the word tight, which he says would describe something cool. And he says, like, "Your shirt is tight." And she says, "Wait, is it too tight?" And he says, "No, it's hard. That means hard, or that's hard means, yo, that shirt's hard, which means that shirt is cool and it's like nice. And then dope means like that's hard, which means it's like nice." Lit means something that's cool that you're doing. Trippin', like when someone says something wrong. Weak, I use it like 3 meanings. This kid is adorable, first of all. And he's just watching him describe these words to Kristen, sometimes using the word to define the word, which is always fun, but I don't know. she's cute. The kid is adorable. All the kids in this segment are adorable. She makes slime with one young woman. She learns slang from this young man. She sings the Baby Shark song with another young woman. And I don't know. I found it sweet. I found it entertaining, which is the point, right? Isn't that the point? I think so. So yes, I was entertained. I was also entertained by an unexpected bromance. I didn't really expect this to be a bromance. I mean, I just never thought about it, I guess. But Matthew McConaughey received his walk on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And in his dedication, he honored his friend Guy Fieri, which I thought, I mean, I don't know why they couldn't be friends, but just when I was putting together bromances in my head, never really thought about it. So it turns out that Matthew McConaughey is a huge fan of Guy Fieri's show, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And when he was on the road at one point in his career, he would watch it all the time. He hadn't met Guy Fieri, but at one point Guy Fieri offered to be like his road trip concierge. So if Matthew McConaughey sent him his itinerary, then he would, I guess he asked Fieri for a restaurant recommendation in Spokane, Washington, saying that Guy's suggestions were always tops. So then Guy offered to be his road concierge and a mobile concierge, saying that he would give him must go to places, restaurants along the way. So then eventually they met in real life. So instead of just being, online friends, they became in real life friends. And this, Matthew McConaughey says, this is when I met a conscientious Guy Fieri who cared about family, who cared about faith. This is when I met a guy who I could tell right away could out-hustle a lot of people with equal talent, outwork them. This is when I met a guy who was not a food snob, and I want to give an applause to that because that can happen. Thank you for that, the 49-year-old said. This is a guy I met who was also curious and was dealing with some newfound fame and wanted to talk about how best to navigate it. That's when he says the heat really turned up on the bromance. So, that's cute, and I think it's sweet when you can just, have a good friendship and you can honor that friendship in a real way. So it is time, I see, to take our second break of the podcast. When we come back, we will be turning our attention to some movie entertainment news. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Entertainment Podcast, and I will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Entertainment Podcast. In the first segment, we talked about television, and then we talked about some random celebrity news, and now we're turning our attention to movies. I grew up watching Sesame Street, but I also grew up watching Star Wars. Love Star Wars. I have loved watching the new ones. It's been hard with, Carrie Fisher died, and more recently Peter Mayhew died. It feels like part of my childhood is dying. But the new one, the third installment of the new trilogy, is coming out at Christmas time. It is The Rise of The Rise of Skywalker. And in this, people have been wondering, since Carrie Fisher did die, how they're going to work that into the new series. I thought when she died, when Princess Leia died, General Organa died in the second movie, that they would kind of just make that play into it. But no, she died. She came back. And it's been a couple of years. That's not a spoiler. And so she is coming back in this third installment. And because of special effects, she will actually be able to interact with and even touch characters, especially one character who is played by her daughter, Billie Lourd. And that just gave me all the feels, actually, because I love Carrie Fisher and I love Princess Leia, now General Organa. And I just think it's amazing that through the power of technology and special effects, they can do this. Billie Lourd plays a resistance officer named Lieutenant Connix. She was in both of the first two, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. And I just think it's really special that she will have these moments. I think it's going to be really special, but also really hard to watch those scenes where she is interacting with her mother. But it's pretty amazing. And if you watch the trailer, the trailer is pretty cool, but, I'm intrigued to see how they do it. J.J. Abrams said that they took some old footage containing Carrie Fisher playing Princess Leia from the first two movies, and then they wrote scenes and fitted Leia's dialogue into those new contexts. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out on the big screen. I'm excited. I was excited already for this movie, and now I'm even more excited, although I know it's going to make me sad because I loved Carrie Fisher. I love Carrie Fisher, and it just makes me sad when I see her. Kind of sad in a sweet sort of way, right? In other movie news, so that's coming out. Rise of Skywalker is coming out in around Christmas. A couple of movies that are coming out sooner. One is Men in Black International. I also love the Men in Black movies, and I am intrigued to see what they're doing with this new installment. I like that they didn't just reboot it, that they didn't just take the original scripts and movies and then take two new actors and stick them in the roles of Tom and Will Smith. It seems like it is a continuation of the original story. It has two new actors, and Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, who were also filming together in Thor Ragnarok and one of the other Marvel movies that is escaping me at the moment. I apologize. I'm sorry, comic book people who are now yelling at me through the podcast. But I really like that one of the Men in Black is, in fact, a woman. And I am excited to see this movie when it comes out in June. And I hope that it's as good. I bring it up because it has... its rating has been released, and it has been rated a PG-13, which is completely appropriate because all three of the first Men in Black movies were also PG-13, and that is for, some suggestive language, some suggestive content. Let's see, some language, sci-fi action, some language, and suggestive material. So makes perfect sense, right? Speaking of new movies that are coming out in June, also a fourth movie, if there were three original and now Men in Black International would be the fourth. Toy Story 4 is coming out in June also. And apparently, as though the other ones weren't tearjerker enough, do you remember when Toy Story 3 came out and everybody was talking about how they just cried and cried? Well, apparently this one's gonna be a tearjerker as well. Apparently you should take your tissues with you to the movie because that's what I hear. So Tom Hanks told Ellen DeGeneres on her talk show that Tim Allen warned him about the emotional ending before Tom Hanks went in to film record his lines. So Hanks, who is 62, and Allen, who is 65. I always say Tom Hanks and Tim Allen. I never realized that they were Tom and Tim. But Tom and Tim respectively play Woody and Buzz Lightyear, and they have since the beginning in 1995. How old do I feel thinking about that? But he says that before he was going in to record, he got a text from Tim Allen, and basically they said, have you recorded yet? Have you been in? Have you had a session yet? And Allen told him, wait until you see those last pages. It's a tough one. So I'm going to have to be emotionally prepared to go see this movie. I love the Toy Story movies. They're so sweet. They're hilarious. They have all of those wonderful jokes that are, I know, go above small children's heads. So at the end of the third movie, we have moved on from original owner of the toys, Andy, when he gifted all of his toys to Bonnie. And so we'll be finding out more about Bonnie, and we'll be meeting some new characters. One of the new characters is played by Keanu Reeves, and he is, Reeves says he's the greatest stuntman in Canada. So he apparently becomes an important part of the mission of the movie. He is a friend of the returning Bo Peep character. So they have to use his skills as a motorcycle daredevil. But what they ask him to do confronts his fear of failure. So he has to kind of face his fear in order to help the greater good. So Toy Story comes out on June 21st, and I am excited to see it. I am excited. There's, it's summer. Summertime's coming up. All the blockbusters will be coming out, and I am looking forward to seeing a lot of movies. What movies are you most excited about seeing this summer? I would love to hear. So that's about it. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the GSMC Entertainment Podcast. Join me again next time when we will be talking about whatever celebrity news happens between now and then. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.